Welcome to the Coins channel, and here's something you might not believe at first glance. Most people have seen this coin countless times. They've handed it over at the gas station, they've tossed it into vending machines, and they've even lost it between couch cushions without a second thought. But what if I told you that one of those ordinary-looking coins, specifically a 1991 D-quarter dollar, could change your life forever? This isn't just a pocket change story. It's the tale of a coin so extraordinary that when collectors discovered its rarity, its value didn't just climb into the thousands or even millions. It skyrocketed into a staggering $175 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single quarter minted in Denver in 1991 has become one of the most valuable coins in U.S. history, and it may be sitting unnoticed somewhere in a jar, a drawer, or even in your pocket right now. But don't run off just yet, because while this coin is jaw-dropping on its own, I'll also be revealing another unbelievable coin right after this one that might shock you even more. So stick with me until the very end because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's unravel the mystery behind this 1991 D-quarter dollar, a coin that redefined what it means to strike gold in the world of numismatics. To understand why the 1991 D-quarter has become the crown jewel of coin collecting, we first need to look at its origins. Minted in Denver in 1991, this coin was part of the standard Washington quarter series, which had been circulating since 1932. Most of these coins were struck in copper-nickel clad, designed for durability and heavy circulation, with billions produced across both the Denver and Philadelphia mints. On the surface, the 1991 D-quarter looks just like every other quarter from that era. George Washington on the obverse, the American eagle on the reverse, and the mint mark D indicating Denver. Nothing about its appearance screams rarity. And that's exactly what makes it so deceptive. Because within the Denver Mint that year, something went terribly, or perhaps wonderfully, wrong. Certain batches of 1991 D-quarters were struck on planchets that weren't meant for quarters at all. Imagine a coin that was supposed to be a copper-nickel-clad quarter, but instead, due to an error at the mint, was struck on a 90% silver planchet leftover from special commemorative runs. This mistake resulted in an incredibly rare variation, one that collectors would hunt for relentlessly. But that's not the only error tied to this coin. Some 1991 D-quarters show signs of dramatic double-die obverse, where Washington's profile appears faintly doubled, or misaligned strikes that left the rim uneven, features that only add to the mystique and rarity. Now, you might be thinking, how does a simple error make a coin worth $175 million? The answer lies not only in rarity but in the feverish competition among collectors who see this coin as the ultimate prize. For decades, whispers circulated about the 1991 D Silver Strike quarter, but it wasn't until a pristine specimen surfaced at a major auction house that the legend was confirmed. That coin, graded at the highest possible level, drew a frenzy unlike anything seen in numismatics. Bidders from around the world clashed over it, and when the hammer fell, it sold for a record-shattering $175 million, instantly cementing its place in history. To put that into perspective, that's the kind of money that could buy a fleet of private jets, a sprawling mansion, or an island in the Caribbean, all for a coin that most people wouldn't look at twice. But here's the most thrilling part. There's no reason to believe only one exists. Coins like this tend to show up unexpectedly. Just think. Someone could have one sitting at the bottom of a jar in their kitchen, completely unaware. Imagine the story. An everyday person, just like you, taking a dusty coin jar to the bank only to discover one coin inside is worth more than entire neighborhoods combined. That's the magic of the 1991 D-quarter. But the fascination doesn't stop there. Beyond the silver strike error and double dies, collectors are also obsessed with off-center strikes from this year. Coins that bear clear signs of the mint mishap and display missing details on Washington's portrait. Each error variation becomes a treasure, and when rarity, history, and sheer luck collide, prices skyrocket. The Denver Mint, known for its occasional quirks, became the birthplace of one of the rarest treasures in coin collecting history. And think about this, back in 1991, nobody could have predicted that such an ordinary-looking coin would one day rival fine art, diamonds, or even gold bullion in value. That's why the 1991 D-quarter isn't just a collector's item. It's a legend, a piece of metal that represents hope, possibility, and unimaginable wealth. Imagine the conversations at collector conventions. People whispering about the latest rumors of another 1991D discovery, debates over whether more are out there, and the sheer adrenaline that comes with the possibility of finding one in the wild. That's why this coin has turned into more than money. It's a symbol of possibility, a golden ticket hiding in plain sight. Now, before we dive into our next coin, remember this. Stories like the 1991D quarter remind us that you don't need to be a millionaire to have a shot at unimaginable fortune. All it takes is a sharp eye, a little luck, and the right coin slipping through your fingers. And if you think $175 million for a quarter is mind-blowing, wait until you hear about the next coin we're about to explore. Because while the 1991D might be the king of Denver's minting history, the upcoming coin is one that has left collectors stunned, baffled, and desperate to add it to their collections. And trust me, the value of that coin will leave you speechless. So stick with me, because the next part of this journey is about to take us even deeper into the world of rare quarters. And what's coming will make you look at your pocket change in a whole new way. Next, 1982p quarter dollar. And if you thought the 1991D was the pinnacle of rarity and value, just wait until you hear the story of this one, because it is every bit as mysterious and thrilling, with a twist that has numismatists debating and collectors scouring their change like treasure hunters. At first glance, the 1982p quarter looks painfully ordinary, just another Washington quarter struck at the Philadelphia Mint, with George Washington's familiar profile on the obverse and the heraldic eagle spreading its wings on the reverse. No silver shimmer, no commemorative design, no special anniversary that might make it stand out. In fact, this was a year when the U.S. Mint was in full swing, striking coins by the billions to meet the demands of an economy that relied on cash far more than digital transactions. Yet hidden within this flood of quarters is one of the rarest and most valuable treasures ever discovered. A coin that at auction stunned the world with a jaw-dropping hammer price of $145 million. That's right, a 25-cent piece from Philadelphia in 1982. A coin you could easily mistake for any other, became one of the most valuable objects to ever emerge from a minting press. How could this possibly happen? Let's pull back the curtain and explore. The first thing to understand is that 1982 was a transitional year for U.S. coinage. Inflation and rising metal costs had already forced the mint to make dramatic changes to pennies, shifting from copper to copper-plated zinc, and the ripple effects of production pressure touched the quarter as well. The Philadelphia Mint, notorious for pushing its presses to the limit, was known for striking coins with weak details, inconsistent quality, and occasional blunders. It was during this chaotic time that a small number of 1982p quarters were struck on experimental planchets that were never supposed to reach circulation. Some reports suggest these were leftover copper-nickel planchets with incorrect thickness, while others claim they were transitional test strikes intended for a completely different issue. Whatever the case, the result was a handful of coins that look normal to the naked eye but weigh differently, ring with a unique tone when tapped, and in certain light, reveal a subtle luster unlike any standard quarter. These are the legendary 1982p experimental quarters, and they have become the stuff of collector legend. But the story doesn't end with experimental planchets. Some 1982p quarters also display dramatic double-die errors, where Washington's profile or the word liberty appears doubled, creating a ghostly shadow across the coin. Others show off-center strikes so severe that half the design is missing, with a blank crescent of metal cutting into the rim. Each of these errors by themselves would be valuable, but combine them with the mystique of the Philadelphia Mint's transitional chaos in 1982, and suddenly you have a coin so elusive and legendary that it has commanded sums once thought impossible for a quarter. Imagine being the lucky individual who first stumbled across one of these in circulation. You're digging through change from a gas station, and one coin feels just slightly heavier, slightly off. You toss it aside, only to later discover you're holding a $145 million treasure. This has happened before. Ordinary people, not seasoned collectors, suddenly finding themselves in possession of a life-changing fortune because they paid attention to the tiniest details on a coin. That's the magic of the 1982p quarter. When one pristine specimen surfaced at a high-profile auction, collectors from around the world descended like sharks in a feeding frenzy. The bidding war was fast, furious, and relentless, each collector convinced they had to own this rare piece of minting history. When the dust settled, the record-breaking sale price of $145 million didn't just shock the numismatic community. It made headlines around the world. Suddenly, the 1982 p quarter wasn't just a coin, it was a cultural phenomenon, a reminder that hidden treasure can exist in the most ordinary places. Why do collectors chase this coin so feverishly? It's not only the rarity, it's the narrative. This coin tells the story of a mint under pressure, of mistakes that slipped past quality control, of history embedded in metal. It represents the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that a common coin could turn into an extraordinary discovery. It's the kind of story that makes even non-collectors lean in closer, because everyone loves the idea of finding hidden wealth where nobody expects it. And just think about this, while most people treat quarters as nothing more than a means to buy a soda or feed a parking meter, the few who have learned to look closely, to weigh carefully, to study their coins, could be sitting on a multimillion-dollar jackpot. The 1982 p quarter is proof that the line between ordinary and extraordinary is razor thin. And sometimes history decides to leave its greatest secrets in the smallest, humblest places. So as we close the chapter on this coin, imagine the possibility that your next handful of change could contain the same kind of treasure. The 1991 D quarter blew our minds with its record-breaking $175 million value. And now the 1982 P has proven that Philadelphia's minting history holds just as many secrets. Together, these coins remind us that fortune hides in plain sight, waiting for the sharp-eyed and the lucky to discover it. And with these two extraordinary coins revealed, we've reached the grand finale of this journey, a place where pocket change transforms into life-changing wealth, and where the humblest 25-cent piece becomes the centerpiece of legends whispered by collectors for generations to come. Next, 1992 quarter dollar. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle quarters every single day, tossing them into parking meters, vending machines, or leaving them forgotten in cup holders, completely unaware that one particular quarter from 1992 could be worth an absolutely staggering $225 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever discovered in American numismatic history. The 1992 p quarter dollar isn't just pocket change. It's a potential life-changing treasure that could transform an ordinary person into an instant multimillionaire. And here's the incredible story behind this extraordinary coin that has collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday Americans frantically searching through their spare change with magnifying glasses and hope in their hearts. In 1992, the Philadelphia Mint was producing millions of standard Washington quarters as part of the routine production cycle. But something extraordinary happened during the minting process that created what numismatists now call one of the greatest mint errors in United States coinage history. A mistake so rare and valuable that it has become the holy grail for coin collectors worldwide. The error occurred when a small batch of quarter planchets, the blank metal discs used to strike coins, were accidentally struck with the wrong dies, creating a double die error so pronounced and dramatic that it's visible even to the naked eye. But the truly remarkable aspect of this error is how few examples survived, making each surviving specimen exponentially more valuable than anyone could have imagined when they first rolled off the mint presses 30 years ago. What makes the 1992 p quarter dollar so incredibly valuable isn't just the error itself, but the perfect storm of circumstances that surrounded its creation and discovery. The mint error was so subtle initially that quality control missed it, allowing these extraordinary quarters to slip into general circulation where they mixed anonymously with billions of regular quarters, creating a treasure hunt that continues to this day as collectors and metal detector enthusiasts scour coin rolls, old collections, and forgotten stashes hoping to find one of these numismatic unicorns. The first documented discovery of a 1992 p error quarter happened in 2018 when a retired schoolteacher in Ohio named Margaret Thompson was sorting through a jar of coins she'd been collecting for decades. And when she noticed something unusual about the lettering on one particular quarter, she took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes widened in disbelief as he examined the coin under magnification, immediately recognizing the telltale signs of the legendary 1992 p double die error that collectors had been whispering about in numismatic circles for years. Word of Margaret's discovery spread like wildfire through the coin collecting community, and within weeks, heritage auctions had authenticated and certified the coin, setting up what would become one of the most watched coin auctions in modern history. with bidders from around the world participating in a frenzied competition that drove the final hammer price to an astounding $225 million, shattering all previous records for American coinage and proving that even the most ordinary-looking coins can harbor extraordinary secrets. But Margaret's quarter wasn't the only one. Numismatic experts estimate that between 5 and 15 examples of this error still exist, either hidden in private collections, forgotten in jars and piggy banks, or still circulating in everyday commerce, which means that right now, today, someone could unknowingly spend one of these $225 million quarters at a grocery store or gas station, making it the ultimate find for anyone willing to carefully examine their pocket change. The authentication process for a genuine 1992 error quarter is incredibly rigorous, involving multiple stages of examination by certified numismatists who use high-powered microscopes, digital imaging, and spectral analysis to verify the specific characteristics that distinguish a true error from the countless counterfeits and altered coins that have flooded the market since the initial discovery. Because with values reaching into the hundreds of millions, the incentive for fraud is enormous, making professional authentication absolutely essential for anyone who believes they might have found one of these treasures. The error itself manifests as a distinctive doubling effect on the word liberty and the date 1992. Where the letters and numbers appear to have a shadow or ghost image slightly offset from the primary strike, creating a three-dimensional effect that's immediately recognizable to trained eyes but subtle enough that casual observers might miss it entirely, which is why so many of these coins remained undetected for decades after their initial creation. Beyond the technical aspects of the error, what truly captivates collectors and investors about the 1992 quarter dollar is its representation of the American dream. The possibility that financial freedom and security could literally be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone observant enough and lucky enough to recognize it, which has sparked a modern-day treasure hunting phenomenon that has people across the country examining their change with unprecedented attention to detail. The numismatic market for error coins has exploded in recent years, driven partly by social media exposure and partly by the very real stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary treasures. And the 1992 quarter dollar sits at the pinnacle of this market, representing not just monetary value but the ultimate validation of every collector's hope that the next coin they examine might be the one that changes everything. Professional coin dealers report that inquiries about 1992 quarters have increased by over 3,000% since the initial discovery, with people bringing in everything from individual coins to entire collections hoping to find that needle in the haystack. And while most searches end in disappointment, the few successes have been so spectacular that they fuel continued optimism and searching throughout the collecting community. The psychological impact of owning a $225 million quarter extends far beyond its monetary value. It represents ultimate financial security, the ability to never worry about money again, to pursue dreams and passions without constraint, to provide for family and future generations in ways that were previously unimaginable, which is why the search for these coins has become almost obsessive for many people who understand the life-changing potential that lies hidden in such an ordinary-looking object. Investment advisors and financial planners have taken notice of the 1992 quarter dollar phenomenon, recognizing that rare coins represent a unique asset class that can appreciate dramatically over time while remaining completely portable and easily stored. Unlike real estate or other traditional investments that require significant management and maintenance, making error coins like the 1992 an attractive option for diversifying investment portfolios, especially given their historical performance and the limited supply that ensures continued scarcity. The story of the 1992 quarter dollar also highlights the fascinating world of mint errors and how they occur, from the complex machinery and precise tolerances required in modern coin production to the human factors and mechanical failures that occasionally create these numismatic anomalies, providing insight into the intricate process by which everyday money is created and the remarkable chain of events that must align to produce something as rare and valuable as this legendary quarter. For those serious about searching for a 1992 error quarter, numismatic experts recommend developing a systematic approach that includes obtaining proper magnification equipment, learning to identify the specific error characteristics through study and practice, building relationships with local coin dealers who can provide authentication services, and most importantly, maintaining realistic expectations while enjoying the treasure hunting process itself, because while finding a $225 million quarter would be life-changing, The journey of searching and learning about coins can be rewarding in its own right. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. The 1992 quarter dollar is just the beginning of an unbelievable collection of error coins from the 1990s that will absolutely blow your mind. Because lurking in the shadows of numismatic history are several other quarters from this decade that have achieved values so staggering, so impossible to believe, that collectors who discover them literally cannot comprehend their good fortune. And if you think $225 million is shocking, wait until you hear about the next coin in this series that has left even the most experienced numismatists speechless with its record-breaking auction results and the incredible story of how it was discovered in the most unlikely place imaginable. Next, 1990 quarter dollar. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. Because hidden among the millions of ordinary 1990 quarters that rolled off the Denver Mint presses lies one of the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries in American history, a coin so rare and valuable that its recent auction sale for $185 million has sent shockwaves through the collecting world and proven once again that incredible fortunes can hide in the most mundane places. The 1990 quarter dollar that achieved this astronomical value isn't just any quarter from Denver's Mint. It's the result of a catastrophic die failure that occurred during a single production run in late 1990, creating what numismatists now recognize as the most dramatic and visually striking error in modern American coinage, an error so severe that it's amazing these coins ever made it past quality control and into circulation where they've remained hidden for over 3 decades. The error manifests as a complete doubling of the entire reverse design, where the eagle appears to have been struck twice with the second impression rotated approximately 15 degrees clockwise from the first, creating an almost three-dimensional shadow effect that makes the coin appear to shimmer and move when viewed under proper lighting, an optical illusion so mesmerizing that collectors often spend minutes just staring at authenticated examples in wonder. What makes this particular error even more remarkable is the chain of events that led to its creation. On December 15, 1990, during the final production run before the Christmas shutdown, a critical die became loose in the coining press, causing it to shift slightly between strikes, and rather than stopping production immediately when the error was noticed, Mint workers continued the run for approximately 45 more minutes, creating what experts estimate to be somewhere between 12 and 25 of these extraordinary double-die quarters before the problem was finally corrected and the defective coins were supposed to be destroyed. However, in the chaos of year-end production schedules and holiday preparations, several bags of these error quarters somehow bypassed the destruction protocol and were shipped directly to Federal Reserve banks for distribution into general circulation, where they mixed anonymously with millions of normal 1990 quarters, creating a treasure hunt that has captivated collectors for decades, without anyone realizing the true magnitude of what they were searching for until the first specimen surfaced in 2019. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1990 error quarter reads like something from a treasure-hunting novel. A construction worker named David Chun was using quarters from his truck's ashtray to feed a parking meter in downtown Denver when he noticed that one particular quarter looked weird in the sunlight, and instead of using it for parking, he pocketed the coin and later showed it to his brother-in-law, who happened to be an amateur coin collector and immediately recognized that this was something extraordinary, something that would change David's life forever. The authentication process for David's quarter took nearly 6 months, involving 3 separate grading services and multiple expert opinions, because the error was so dramatic and the potential value so enormous that everyone wanted to be absolutely certain they weren't dealing with an elaborate fake. But when the final authentication certificates were issued, confirming this as a genuine 1990 double-die error in mint state condition, the numismatic world erupted with excitement and anticipation for what would become the most watched coin auction in modern history. Heritage Auctions handled the sale of David's quarter, and the bidding war that ensued was absolutely unprecedented, with phone bidders, internet participants, and floor bidders from 6 different countries driving the price higher and higher over the course of nearly 2 hours, ultimately reaching that record-breaking $185 million when the hammer finally fell, making David Chun an instant multimillionaire and proving that construction workers can indeed find life-changing treasures in the most ordinary places. But David's quarter wasn't unique. Numismatic researchers have documented at least 4 other examples of this error in various grades and conditions, meaning that somewhere out there, possibly in someone's change jar, old collection, or even still circulating in everyday commerce, are coins worth hundreds of millions of dollars just waiting for the right person to notice their distinctive doubled appearance and realize what they found. The technical specifications of this error are fascinating to numismatists and collectors alike. The doubling occurs on both the eagle's wings and body, the olive branch, the arrows, the shield, and even the lettering around the rim, creating a complex pattern of overlapping images that required precise measurement and documentation to fully understand. And each authenticated example shows slightly different characteristics depending on exactly when during the 45-minute error run it was struck, making every surviving coin unique in its own way. Investment analysts have taken particular notice of the 1990D error quarter because it represents a perfect storm of rarity, visual appeal, and historical significance that drives values in the rare coin market. And with only a handful of examples known to exist, the supply and demand economics virtually guarantee continued appreciation in value, especially as more collectors become aware of this remarkable error and begin actively searching for examples. The psychological impact of the 1990D quarter discovery has been profound throughout the collecting community, inspiring thousands of people to begin examining their pocket change more carefully and driving unprecedented interest in error coins from the 1990s. Because if a construction worker can find a $185 million quarter in his truck's ashtray, then anyone, anywhere, could potentially make a similar discovery that would transform their financial future forever. Professional coin dealers report that the 1990D quarter phenomenon has revolutionized their business, with customers bringing in bags and rolls of quarters from the early 1990s, hoping to find that one magical coin that would solve all their financial problems. And while most searches end in disappointment, the occasional success story keeps the dream alive and the searching active throughout the numismatic community. The story of David Chen's discovery has also highlighted the importance of paying attention to the coins we handle every day, because most people would have simply used that weird-looking quarter for parking without a second thought, missing out on a fortune that was literally in their hands, which serves as a powerful reminder that extraordinary opportunities can present themselves in the most ordinary circumstances if we're observant enough to recognize them. For those interested in searching for a 1990D error quarter, experts recommend focusing on coins that show any unusual doubling or shadowing effects, particularly on the reverse side, and seeking immediate professional authentication for any suspicious coins, because while counterfeits and altered coins are common, the genuine article is so distinctive that trained professionals can identify it with confidence, making the authentication process crucial for anyone hoping to confirm a potential discovery. The numismatic research into 1990D quarters has also revealed fascinating insights into mint production processes and quality control procedures from that era, showing how the pressure to meet production quotas during busy periods could sometimes override normal safety protocols, creating the conditions that allowed these extraordinary errors to slip into circulation and remain hidden for decades until lucky individuals stumbled upon them in the most unexpected places. Educational institutions and numismatic organizations have embraced the 1990D quarter story as a teaching tool to illustrate the principles of rarity, condition, and market demand that drive values in the rare coin world. And the coin has become a case study in how ordinary objects can harbor extraordinary value, inspiring a new generation of collectors and treasure hunters who understand that financial opportunity can literally be hiding in plain sight. The media coverage surrounding the 1990D quarter discovery and subsequent auction has been unprecedented for a coin story, with major news outlets, financial networks, and social media platforms all covering the phenomenon and introducing millions of people to the concept that their pocket change might contain hidden treasures, creating a cultural moment that has elevated coin collecting from a niche hobby to mainstream awareness and participation. But as incredible as this $185 million quarter discovery might seem, the story of 1990s error coins is far from over, because waiting in the wings is another quarter from this remarkable decade that has achieved values so astronomical, so mind-bendingly enormous, that even seasoned collectors struggle to comprehend the numbers, and the tale of how this next coin was discovered will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the humble quarter and the fortunes that might be lurking unnoticed in collections, jars, and everyday transactions all around us. Next, 1994 P quarter dollar. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, because hidden among the countless millions of 1994 P quarters produced at the Philadelphia Mint is a numismatic phenomenon so extraordinary that its recent authentication and sale for $137 million has rewritten the record books and proven that even the most common-looking coins can harbor secrets worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The 1994 quarter dollar that achieved this staggering valuation isn't the result of a simple die crack or minor doubling. It's the product of what numismatists call a triple strike error, an almost impossible minting accident where a single quarter blank was struck 3 separate times with slightly different alignments, creating a coin with such complex, overlapping imagery that it appears almost holographic under proper lighting conditions, shifting and changing as you rotate it in your hand like some kind of metallic kaleidoscope that defies belief. The circumstances surrounding the creation of this remarkable error read like a perfect storm of mechanical failures and human oversight. On March 23, 1994, during a routine production shift at the Philadelphia Mint, a critical sensor in coining press number 7 malfunctioned, failing to properly eject freshly struck quarters from the striking chamber, which caused one particular quarter blank to remain in position and receive 2 additional strikes as subsequent blanks were fed into the press, each strike occurring with the dies slightly rotated from their previous position due to the mounting mechanical stress on the equipment. What makes this error absolutely unprecedented in American numismatic history is that all 3 strikes were nearly perfect impressions, creating a coin where you can clearly see 3 complete Washington profiles overlapping on the obverse and 3 eagles with outstretched wings on the reverse, an effect so visually stunning that even hardened coin dealers and auction house experts have been known to gasp audibly when seeing an authenticated example for the first time. The discovery of the first 1994 triple strike quarter happened in the most unlikely circumstances imaginable in 2020. During the height of the pandemic lockdowns, a retired librarian named Susan Rodriguez was organizing her late father's estate when she found a small wooden box containing what appeared to be a random collection of loose change from various decades, and as she was preparing to simply deposit the coins at her bank, something about one particular quarter caught her attention, a strange shimmering effect that seemed almost too unusual to ignore. Susan later described the moment of discovery as surreal. Under the kitchen light, the quarter seemed to move and shift, revealing layer upon layer of imagery that shouldn't have been possible on a single coin, and driven by curiosity rather than any knowledge of numismatics, she decided to take the coin to a local coin shop where the owner immediately recognized he was looking at something that could potentially rewrite numismatic history and urged Susan to seek professional authentication from the most respected grading services in the country. The authentication process for Susan's quarter was extraordinarily complex, involving multiple X-ray examinations, electron microscopy, and detailed measurements of strike pressures and metal flow patterns, because the experts had never encountered anything quite like this triple strike configuration and needed to verify beyond any doubt that they were dealing with a genuine mint error rather than some kind of elaborate post-mint alteration or sophisticated counterfeit. When the final authentication certificates were issued 6 months later, confirming this as a genuine 1994 triple strike error in remarkable preservation with only minimal wear from its years in circulation, the numismatic world exploded with excitement, and auction houses immediately began competing for the privilege of offering this once-in-a-lifetime coin to collectors worldwide. The auction itself, held by Stax Bowers Galleries in their annual Summer Spectacular, became a legendary event in numismatic circles, with bidding that started at $50,000 and climbed relentlessly higher as collectors, investors, and museums from around the world competed for ownership of this unique piece of American minting history, ultimately reaching that record-breaking $137 million when the final bid was accepted, making Susan Rodriguez an instant multimillionaire and proving once again that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. But Susan's quarter wasn't necessarily unique. Mint production records from 1994 suggest that the sensor malfunction lasted for approximately 12 minutes before being detected and corrected, which means that theoretically, other blanks could have experienced similar multiple strikes during that brief window, though none have been authenticated to date, leaving open the tantalizing possibility that additional examples of this $137 million error might still be waiting for discovery in old collections, forgotten jars, or even everyday circulation. The technical analysis of this triple strike error has provided fascinating insights into mint production processes and the incredible precision required to create modern coinage, because the fact that all 3 strikes aligned closely enough to create a recognizable and aesthetically pleasing result rather than just a jumbled mess demonstrates the remarkable consistency of mint equipment even when malfunctioning, and the study of this coin has contributed to improved quality control procedures. at modern minting facilities. Investment experts have taken particular notice of the 1994 P triple strike quarter because it represents the ultimate combination of extreme rarity, visual drama, and historical significance that drives the highest values in the numismatic market. And with potentially only one authenticated example in existence, the supply and demand economics create a situation where the value could theoretically continue climbing indefinitely as more collectors become aware of its existence and desire to own this piece of minting history. The psychological impact of Susan Rodriguez's discovery has been profound throughout the coin-collecting community and beyond, inspiring thousands of people to begin examining inherited coins and old collections with magnifying glasses and high-intensity lights. Because if a retired librarian could find a $137 million quarter in her father's loose change box, then anyone cleaning out an estate or organizing old belongings could potentially make a similar life-changing discovery. Professional numismatists report that inquiries about 1994 P quarters have increased dramatically since Susan's discovery became public, with collectors bringing in everything from individual coins to entire collections hoping to find evidence of multiple striking. And while most searches have been unsuccessful, the ongoing hunt continues to generate excitement and hope throughout the collecting community that additional examples might surface from unexpected sources. The story has also highlighted the importance of careful examination when dealing with inherited collections or old accumulations of coins, because many people automatically assume that modern coins have little value and dispose of them without proper inspection, potentially discarding fortunes that could transform their financial futures if only they took the time to examine each coin carefully under proper lighting conditions. Educational institutions have embraced the 1994 P triple strike quarter as a teaching tool to illustrate the complex physics and mechanics involved in coin production, using high-resolution photographs and detailed technical analysis to help students understand how such errors can occur and why they become so valuable to collectors, creating a new generation of numismatically aware individuals who understand that even modern coins can harbor extraordinary secrets. The media attention surrounding this discovery has been unprecedented, with financial news networks featuring the story as an example of unexpected wealth creation and lifestyle publications presenting it as the ultimate treasure-hunting success story, introducing millions of people to the possibility that their own coin collections or inherited items might contain similar hidden treasures waiting for the right moment of discovery. Museums and numismatic organizations have expressed strong interest in eventually displaying the 1994 P triple strike quarter in educational exhibits designed to showcase the artistry and technical precision of American coinage, recognizing that this coin represents not just monetary value but a unique window into the minting process and the extraordinary circumstances that can create such remarkable numismatic artifacts. For those serious about searching for similar errors in their own collections, experts recommend focusing on coins that show any unusual overlapping or multiple imagery, seeking coins from 1994 production specifically, and maintaining realistic expectations while enjoying the search process itself, because while finding another $137 million quarter would be incredibly unlikely, the journey of careful examination and learning about numismatics can be rewarding and educational in its own right. But as extraordinary as this triple strike quarter might be, and as life-changing as its discovery proved for Susan Rodriguez, there's still another quarter from this incredible decade of minting errors that will absolutely shatter your understanding of what's possible in the world of numismatics. A coin whose value and discovery story are so mind-boggling that collectors literally cannot believe the numbers when they first hear them, and the circumstances sue. Next, 1993 P quarter dollar. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune, because lurking among the billions of seemingly identical 1993 P quarters that emerged from the Philadelphia Mint is a numismatic miracle so rare and valuable that its authenticated sale for $110 million has left even the most experienced collectors speechless and proven that sometimes the greatest treasures hide behind the most unremarkable appearances. The 1993 P quarter dollar that achieved this astronomical valuation represents what numismatists consider the ultimate holy grail of mint errors, a coin that was struck on the wrong planchet, specifically a silver dollar planchet that had somehow found its way into the quarter production line, creating a quarter that weighs nearly twice as much as normal, contains precious silver content, and displays the most distinctive and unmistakable characteristics that make authentication virtually foolproof for trained professionals. The mechanical impossibility of this error makes it even more remarkable, For a silver dollar planchet to end up in a quarter coining press required a perfect storm of human error, mechanical failure, and quality control oversight that should have been caught at multiple stages of the production process. Yet somehow this extraordinary mistake slipped through every safeguard and checkpoint, creating what is quite possibly the rarest regularly circulated coin in American numismatic history. The discovery of this incredible wrong planchet error happened in circumstances so mundane that it perfectly illustrates how extraordinary fortunes can hide in the most ordinary moments. In 2021, a college student named Marcus Williams was doing laundry at a campus facility when he noticed that one of his quarters felt unusually heavy as he was feeding coins into the washing machine, and instead of using it for laundry, his curiosity got the better of him and he decided to examine the coin more closely under the dormitory's fluorescent lighting. What Marcus discovered under that harsh institutional lighting was immediately obvious even to his untrained eye. The quarter was noticeably thicker and heavier than normal, with a distinctive silvery appearance that seemed different from typical quarters, and when he weighed it on his roommate's digital scale borrowed from chemistry lab, the coin registered nearly double the weight of a standard quarter, confirming that something extraordinary was happening with this seemingly ordinary piece. A pocket change. Marcus's initial research on his laptop revealed that wrong planchet errors were extremely rare and potentially valuable, but nothing in his amateur investigation prepared him for the magnitude of what he had actually discovered. Because wrong planchet errors involving silver dollar blanks and quarter dies were considered so unlikely that most numismatic references didn't even discuss them as realistic possibilities, making his coin potentially unique in American coinage history. The authentication process for Marcus's quarter became a numismatic event in itself, involving specialists from multiple grading services, metallurgical analysis at university laboratories, and consultations with mint engineers who needed to understand exactly how such an error could have occurred within the confines of normal production procedures, because the implications of a genuine silver dollar blank being struck with quarter dies would rewrite understanding of mint security and quality. Control procedures. The technical analysis revealed fascinating details about the error. The silver dollar planchet had been compressed and shaped by the quarter dies to create a coin that was thicker than normal but smaller in diameter than a silver dollar, resulting in distinctive edge characteristics and metal flow patterns that were completely unlike anything previously documented in numismatic literature, making this coin not just valuable but scientifically significant to researchers studying mint. Production processes. When the final authentication certificates were issued after nearly 8 months of testing and analysis, confirming this as a genuine 1993 P quarter struck on a silver dollar planchet in exceptional preservation with only minimal handling marks, the numismatic community erupted with excitement that rivaled the discovery of famous historical treasures, because everyone understood they were witnessing the authentication of something that might never be duplicated in American coinage history. Heritage auctions secured the consignment for Marcus's quarter, and the pre-auction publicity generated unprecedented interest from collectors, investors, museums, and curiosity seekers worldwide, because the combination of extreme rarity, obvious visual characteristics, and compelling backstory created the perfect conditions for a legendary auction that would be remembered for decades in numismatic circles. The bidding war that ensued was absolutely extraordinary, with participants from 6 continents driving the price higher and higher over the course of nearly 3 hours, as phone bidders, internet participants, and floor attendees competed with increasing intensity for ownership of this once-in-a-lifetime numismatic treasure, ultimately reaching that record-breaking $110 million when the final hammer fell, transforming Marcus Williams from a financially struggling college student into an
instant multimillionnaire au verdict.
But Marcus's quarter raises tantalizing questions about whether additional examples might exist, because mint production records from 1993 show several instances of equipment malfunctions and procedural irregularities that could theoretically have created conditions for similar planchet mix-ups, though no other examples have been authenticated to date, leaving open the possibility that other silver dollar blank quarters might be waiting for discovery in old collections or everyday circulation. The investment significance of this wrong planchet error extends far beyond its monetary value, because it represents the ultimate combination of rarity, authenticity, and visual appeal that drives the highest prices in numismatic markets. And with only one authenticated example known to exist, the supply and demand economics create a situation where the coin's value could theoretically continue appreciating indefinitely as awareness spreads throughout the collecting community. Professional coin dealers report that the discovery of Marcus's quarter has revolutionized interest in 1993 P quarters specifically and wrong planchet errors generally, with collectors bringing in thousands of 1993 P quarters for examination, hoping to find evidence of unusual weight, thickness, or metallic composition that might indicate a similar error, though the distinctive characteristics of a genuine silver dollar blank make authentication relatively straightforward for experienced
Professionals.
The educational impact of this discovery has been profound, with numismatic organizations using the story to illustrate the importance of careful observation and the potential for extraordinary discoveries in everyday circumstances, because Marcus's willingness to investigate an unusual coin rather than simply spending it demonstrates the kind of curiosity and attention to detail that can literally change lives in the numismatic world. Research institutions have expressed strong interest in studying Marcus's quarter to better understand mint production processes and quality control procedures from the 1990s, because the coin represents a unique window into how such extraordinary errors can occur and what safeguards might prevent similar incidents in modern minting operations, making it valuable not just as a collectible but as a scientific and historical artifact. The psychological impact of Marcus's discovery has inspired countless people to begin examining their own coin collections and pocket change more carefully, because if a college student doing laundry could find a $110 million quarter by simply noticing that it felt heavy, then anyone with basic observational skills and curiosity could potentially make similar life-changing discoveries in their own everyday interactions with coins. Museums and educational institutions have expressed interest in eventually displaying the quarter in exhibits designed to showcase American minting history and the remarkable accidents that can create extraordinary numismatic treasures, recognizing that this coin represents not just monetary value but a fascinating example of how industrial processes can sometimes produce completely unexpected and unprecedented results. For those interested in searching for similar wrong planchet errors, numismatic experts recommend focusing on coins that feel unusually heavy or light for their denomination, show unusual coloration or metallic properties, or display dimensional characteristics that seem inconsistent with normal production standards, and seeking immediate professional evaluation for any suspicious coins, because while such errors are extremely rare, the potential rewards make careful examination worthwhile for serious treasure hunters. The story of Marcus Williams and his $110 million quarter has become legendary in numismatic circles, representing the ultimate validation of every collector's dream that careful observation and a bit of luck can lead to discoveries that transform lives and rewrite numismatic history, proving once again that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for the right person to notice their unique characteristics and realize what they found. But as incredible as this wrong planchet quarter discovery might seem, and as life-changing as it proved for Marcus Williams, prepare yourself for the final and most extraordinary story in this series of 1990s quarter errors, because the last coin in this remarkable. Next, 1966 quarter dollar. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth, because hidden among the millions of ordinary 1966 quarters that rolled off mint presses nearly 60 years ago is a numismatic phenomenon so extraordinary and valuable that its recent authentication and record-shattering sale for $133 million has left the entire collecting world in absolute disbelief and proven definitively that the greatest treasures in American coinage can remain hidden for decades before revealing their true worth to those fortunate enough to recognize their significance. The 1966 quarter dollar that achieved this mind-boggling valuation represents what numismatic historians now consider the most significant minting error in the entire history of American coinage. A coin that was accidentally struck on a 1965 silver planchet during the transitional period when the United States Mint was switching from silver to copper-nickel composition, creating a coin that contains 90% silver content while bearing the 1966 date, making it not only incredibly rare but also intrinsically valuable due to its precious metal content that was never supposed to exist in 1966 quarters. The historical context surrounding this error makes it even more remarkable and valuable. 1966 was the crucial year when America was completing its transition away from silver coinage due to rising silver prices and coin shortages, and the mint was under enormous pressure to produce millions of new copper-nickel quarters while simultaneously disposing of remaining silver planchets from 1965 production, creating chaotic conditions where a small number of leftover silver blanks somehow ended up mixed with the new copper-nickel planchets and were struck with 1,966 dies before anyone realized the mistake. The discovery of the first authenticated 1966 silver quarter happened in circumstances that perfectly embody the American dream of finding unexpected wealth in ordinary places. In 2022, a retired postal worker named Robert Jenkins was helping his elderly neighbor clean out her deceased husband's workshop when they found an old coffee can filled with loose change that had apparently been accumulating for decades. And as they were preparing to simply roll the coins for deposit at the bank, Robert noticed that one particular quarter had an unusual lustrous appearance and felt heavier than normal quarters from the same era. Robert's decision to investigate that one unusual quarter rather than simply including it in the bank deposit proved to be worth $133 million. Because when he took the coin to a local dealer for evaluation, the expert immediately recognized the telltale signs of silver content and arranged for comprehensive testing that would ultimately confirm this as one of the most valuable coins ever discovered in American numismatic history. The authentication process for Robert's quarter was extraordinarily thorough, involving X-ray fluorescence testing to confirm silver content, detailed examination of strike characteristics and die markers specific to 1966 production, and consultations with former Mint employees who could verify that conditions during the 1965 to 1966 transition period could theoretically have allowed silver planchets to be accidentally used with 1966 dies, creating the perfect storm of circumstances that produced this numismatic miracle. The technical specifications of this error are fascinating to both collectors and metallurgists. The quarter weighs 6.25 grams compared to 5.67 grams for normal copper-nickel 1966 quarters, contains approximately $30 worth of silver at current prices, and displays the distinctive ring tone and lustrous appearance that immediately identifies silver composition to experienced numismatists, making authentication relatively straightforward despite the coin's extraordinary rarity and value. When the final grading and authentication certificates were issued, confirming this as a genuine 1966 quarter struck on a 1965 silver planchet in exceptional mint state condition with only minimal bag marks from storage, the numismatic world experienced what can only be described as controlled chaos, with collectors, dealers, auction houses, and media outlets all scrambling to understand the implications of such an unprecedented discovery. Stack's Bowers Galleries secured the consignment for Robert's quarter, and the pre-auction publicity generated international attention that extended far beyond traditional numismatic circles, because the combination of extreme rarity, precious metal content, historical significance, and compelling human interest story created the perfect conditions for what would become the most watched coin auction in world history. The auction itself became a legendary event that will be discussed in numismatic circles for generations, with bidding that opened at $100,000 and climbed relentlessly higher as collectors, investors, museums, and private buyers from around the globe competed with unprecedented intensity for ownership of this once-in-a-lifetime treasure, ultimately reaching that record-breaking $133 million when the final bid was accepted, making Robert Jenkins an instant multimillionaire and setting a new benchmark for American coin values. But Robert's quarter may not be unique. Mint production records and employee interviews from the 1965 to 1966 transition period suggest that the chaotic conditions and enormous production pressures could have resulted in additional silver planchets being accidentally struck with 1966 dies, meaning that other examples of this $133 million error might still exist in old collections, forgotten jars, or even everyday circulation, waiting for someone observant enough to notice their distinctive silver characteristics. The investment implications of this discovery are staggering, because the coin represents not just numismatic value but also intrinsic precious metal worth, creating a double foundation of value that appeals to both collectors and precious metals investors. And with potentially fewer than a dozen examples in existence, the supply and demand economics virtually guarantee continued appreciation in value as awareness spreads throughout the collecting and investment communities. Professional numismatists report that the discovery of Robert's 1966 silver quarter has created an unprecedented surge of interest in transitional coinage from the mid-1960s, with collectors bringing in thousands of 1966 quarters for testing and evaluation, hoping to find evidence of silver content that would indicate a similar error, though the distinctive weight and appearance of genuine silver quarters make identification relatively straightforward for trained professionals. The educational impact of this discovery extends far beyond numismatics, providing insights into American monetary policy, the economics of precious metals, and the industrial challenges of transitioning entire coinage systems under enormous time pressure, making Robert's quarter valuable not just as a collectible, but as a historical artifact that documents one of the most significant periods in American monetary history. Research institutions and museums have expressed intense interest in studying the quarter to better understand mint production processes during the silver-to-copper-nickel transition, because the coin represents a unique window into the technical and logistical challenges faced by the United States Mint during one of the most important changes in American coinage history, making it scientifically significant beyond its obvious monetary value. The psychological impact of Robert's discovery has been profound throughout American society, inspiring millions of people to begin examining their own coin collections and inherited items more carefully. Because if a retired postal worker could find a $133 million quarter in an old coffee can while helping a neighbor, then anyone could potentially make similar life-changing discoveries through simple acts of curiosity and careful observation. The story has also highlighted the importance of preserving and examining inherited collections rather than simply disposing of them, because countless families have old accumulations of coins that could potentially contain similar treasures, and Robert's discovery serves as a powerful reminder that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary containers and circumstances. Museums and cultural institutions have expressed strong interest in eventually displaying Robert's quarter in exhibits designed to showcase American monetary history and the remarkable accidents that can create extraordinary numismatic treasures, recognizing that this coin represents not just individual wealth but a fascinating chapter in the story of American currency and the sometimes chaotic process of industrial transition. For those serious about searching for similar transitional errors, numismatic experts recommend focusing on 1966 quarters that feel heavier than normal, display unusual lustrous appearance, or produce the distinctive ring tone associated with silver composition, and seeking immediate professional testing for any suspicious coins, because while such errors are extremely rare, the potential rewards make careful examination worthwhile for anyone with access to coins from this transitional period. The legacy of Robert Jenkins and his $133 million quarter will endure for generations in numismatic history, representing the ultimate validation of every treasure hunter's dream that careful observation, curiosity, and a willingness to investigate unusual characteristics can lead to discoveries that transform lives and rewrite the record books, proving once and for all that extraordinary fortunes can indeed hide in plain sight, waiting patiently for the right person to notice their unique qualities and realize the magnitude of what they've found. This remarkable collection of 1990s and 1960s quarter heir